So today we're gonna test out 3 recipes from heavy hitters in the vegan recipe world. We have Mary's Paprika hot dogs, the Edgy Veg's carrot dogs, and one of my all-time favorite recipe writers, the Gentle Chef. He just came out with his Ballpark vegan Frank's recipe. By the way, I had a hard time finding these 3 recipes that looked really good. If I missed one of your favorites, feel free to drop a comment below and let me know what I missed. With that said, let's get into it. So for this recipe, I grabbed an onion, nutritional yeast, garlic, refined coconut oil, tomato paste, apple cider vinegar, sugar, soy sauce, celery salt, paprika, mushroom seasoning, ground coriander, oregano, ground mustard, caraway seeds, fennel seeds, black pepper, nutmeg, vital wheat gluten, and 8 hot dog buns. So if you haven't heard of Mary's Test Kitchen, I've been watching them for a long time and she's one of my all-time favorite recipe writers. Everything I've made of hers has just turned out great. The technique on this recipe is pretty straightforward, as Seitan recipes get, as you essentially mix your wet ingredients into your dry to make the dough. And I always love that, it just makes it so easy. The dough was pretty tight, which was totally fine, but it did make it hard to evenly divide the portions, as I couldn't add or subtract once I made the final cut. I think some of the dogs are going to be bigger than the others, and in hindsight I should have just let it rest for an hour to loosen the dough up. So Mary used small sheets of foil to wrap her sausage, and I did the same. I didn't know you could use such little foil to do this, and this is what I love about other people's recipes and doing them, is that you learn these small technique improvements. And I always have a hard time with these smaller sausages, as I tend to squish the ends of the dough when I tighten the foil, making them flat or catching the dough in the wrapper instead of getting them nice and round. But I came up with a little technique by rolling it, looking in there, pinching 1/4 inch past the dough, keeping my thumb on the crease, and then twisting with the other hand. If someone has ideas on how to do this better, leave a comment below and let me know. I would love to get better at this. So after resting overnight, I sprayed some oil in my grill pan and the sausage, grilled it up and put it on a bun, and I can't wait to try it out, so let's go do it. Ooh, there we go. So I should have measured them to a bun when I rolled them out. That's totally my fault, that's user error. I got a nice round, let's see if you can get that, a nice round edge. I think that technique worked. Overall, it looks fantastic. Let's try it out. Nothing like a hot dog for breakfast. It's got that density to it, so it's gonna fill you up. I'd say like not as much of the seasonings came through as I thought there would be, but it still creates a really, I think, complex flavor that still has that paprika-y hot dog flavor, which is what the recipe was advertising. Let's get a little bit of the cross-section shot there. It's always a little weird showing people my bites. I would absolutely make this again. Now it's on to carrot dogs. So for this I got carrots, of course, rice vinegar, apple cider vinegar, roasted sesame seed oil, soy sauce or tamari, garlic powder, onion powder, ginger powder, cayenne powder, black pepper, and 4 hot dog buns. She directs you to whittle them down to look like hot dogs, and I also took the skin off as I wasn't sure if I needed to do that, but they did look like they were off in the video. Usually the skin is the bitter part, so I thought it would just make sense. I had lots of carrot scraps left over and saved and used them in a salad. You then boil them and then blanch them, and I totally forgot about the blanching step, and I had to scramble to get that all together. I hope they still turn out, but I think they will. So while they boiled, I created the marinade, which smelled great, mostly of toasted sesame oil. So by the way, fun fact, the first Seitan I ever made was the Edgy Veg's chicken nuggets, I think back in 2014 or so. So I've been a big fan of hers for a while. So after marinating for 24 hours, let's see how they stack up. So as someone who loves to eat a large quantity of food, carrot hot dogs are my favorite because I can have more than one. Usually Seitan dogs, I can only have like 1 max, and then I get a tummy ache if I eat 2. It smells like the marinade, which is great because the marinade's all really good stuff. Can't wait to try it, so let's do it. I've never tasted a flavor combo like this. Does it mimic the flavor of an animal-based hot dog? No, but does it taste great? Absolutely. Carrot dogs are kind of like a different universe than Seitan, which is what I love about vegan cooking, is that you get so many different variations that are incredibly creative, and that leads to just completely different takes on the exact same dish using completely different ingredients. So next up we have the Gentle Chef. This recipe just dropped, so let's do it. For this recipe, I used extra firm tofu, soy sauce, vegetable oil, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, liquid smoke, ground nutmeg, ground coriander, poultry seasoning, vegan red food coloring, and vital wheat gluten. Apples to apples, this is a lot less seasoning than the other Seitan recipe that we started with, so I'm interested to see the comparison between these two. So I weighed and then pressed the small amount of tofu, but it probably would have been better to just press the whole block and cut that amount off. Either way, I think it's gonna be fine. Bonus info, did you know you can store tofu in water in a sealed container after opening the package? Knowledge. You then add your pressed tofu and other ingredients into a food processor, pulse, and then add your gluten. I'm always nervous about using a food processor to make seitan dough, but I'm not sure where that comes from because it's not gonna mess up the gluten strands if the recipe is designed for it, but I'm getting used to this and this recipe did help a lot with that. What's always so interesting to me about seitan recipes is how different they can be and have different approaches to create the same final product. For instance, there was no dough processing in Mary's, but this one we're gonna do for 3 minutes. My guess is that the blended tofu is gonna leave a nice soft texture in the final product. By the way, I just have to say that something interesting I learned while researching this video is that a hot dog is defined as both the sausage and the bun together. I've been out here calling sausages hot dogs my whole life. So this was fun to make, measurements were exact. I always appreciate that. Dough smells great, easy to manage, doesn't spring back. It was easy to weigh these out because the dough is pretty loose. And it was also nice to clean up as I only used the food processor and not also an extra mixing bowl. So let's give this a go. It smells like a hot dog and it's got that springiness to it. It's not super dense. You can wiggle it a little bit. Cheers. This is easily the closest to a meat-based hot dog I've ever had. So I think the food processing is ultimately what gave this a fantastic texture, along with the tofu in it. It was exactly what I remember and bringing back all these childhood memories of running around and eating hot dogs. It even has that hot dog tang, salty tang to it. So I think it goes without saying, this is my favorite out of all 3, although they were all fantastic and had their own merits. I would make all of these over again, but for now, this is gonna be my go-to. So since this is a new format for me, I would love to hear what you thought in the comments. And if you have other tasting videos that you would like to see me do, I would love to hear from you. Also, if you got value from this, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you like vegan sausages, then guess what? I've got a vegan pepperoni episode for you that just came out that I think you'll enjoy. You can click the link on your screen now. And until next time, y'all, be nice to each other and keep cooking.